Welcome to Rauta's Best of February and March 2019. If you've been a regular watcher of my videos in early 2019, you probably know all the albums I'm gonna mention here. But in case you missed most of my reviews, which is typical and mostly fine, well, let me recap the best albums that have come out in the past 2 months. I will also mention a couple of albums which just came a little bit late here, so they didn't, fit in the best of January video. But first, let's go with these 2 months here, what are, in my opinion, the ones that you should be checking out if you're low on money or busy or whatever excuse not to check all of the great albums I'm suggesting to you. First to mention is this Swedish one-man band called Nor Sint. Dova Hugg. It's folk metal. As the name and the feeling kind of suggests, this is some real deal here. It's not just some pagan metal band having a kind of a medieval melodies, but it's all about kind of creating the genuine folk metal vibe. Classic instruments of past times, and also the kind of a very Swedish vibe. I must say, give Nor Sint a chance if you have ever enjoyed any folk metal album in the past. If folk metal allergy is present in your home or nearby, don't bother obviously, but still I would say this is one of those albums that you should just give it a chance, no matter how prejudice you might have or whatnot. Really nice surprised, in my opinion. It came already in February, so should be out wherever you are residing. Then another suggestion would go to Norway. This is Blood, Mot en evig ruin. Not the most original album as such, like totally different from Nor Sint, but kind of putting together all those good Norwegian black metal ideas without offering much of a repetition, but rather more the diverse end of what Norwegian black metal is all about. That is grimness, melodies, also some boneheaded, sinister riffing, lots of stuff really going all about like 1990s and even maybe early 2000 Norwegian stuff. Something that probably isn't really catchy as such, as separate from the other rather good bands. But Bloodham is better than most of these non-catchy ones, super albums. Kind of a band that is so easy to just pass and skip, but then again, once you just put it in player and like, man, now I get why Jerry from Rauta is suggesting that one. So give it a chance, especially if you have ever liked Norwegian black metal, and hey, who doesn't? Who hasn't liked that? Then it's all about going to Iceland, one of the most promising territories in now the Zoom is pissing me off. One of the most promising countries when it comes to in the world right now. Icelandic scene is mostly being about this kind of a third wave, very dissonant kind of a stuff. And to be honest, some of that works rather nicely. Most of these younger bands are, in my opinion, still evolving, kind of a progressing to where they should be. And they are not that great. I mean, they're good, but still they are not there to kind of a challenge the classical bands from the 80s and the 90s. Sinmara is one of the better ones in my opinion. This album is new one. It's kind of a hanging around between the second and the third wave. Some even compared this to what Mayhem was trying to do so many years but couldn't just push through. And Sinmara again, like, boom guys, we do it, we show you how it's done. It's not that much of a dissonant, but more of the very dark, very sinister creation, and in my opinion, really, really good atmosphere on this one. So if you had to just pick one Icelandic black metal band this year, my bet would be go to Sinmara. Then we just take the classic one, which I already reviewed last week. This is Armageddon from Sweden, their debut album, The Final War Approaching. I wanted to include this one even though it's a reissue with new cover and all that stuff, because I think it's a classic album that needs to be heard once again. Very grim, very raw, harsh production and all that stuff. not like this ultra primitive or anything like that, but very much on the verge of, being more on the primitive rather than, well produced one. I think it's a really good album, probably underrated one, and definitely a type of a reissue you should be getting if you don't have that one on your shelf already. Really, really kind of a gem that should be in your collection if you're into raw kind of a black metal. And then from my home country, Finland, comes War Moon Lord. Melodic and very raw. Vlad Tepes meets Satanic War Master, and then some lots of dramatic synths used here, very lo-fi production, raw in essence, but then again also this kind of a sinister melodies coming out and, spilling the guts of the 1990s Nordic black metal style. Not only Nordic, because obviously there's lots of French underground included. So one of those albums that could be very much in top 10 lists when putting all the albums of 2019 together. It's obviously hard to say, hardly past the first quarter, and by now we already have a wonderful amount of, wonderful albums. So these 5 would be my take on the list of these 2 months, March and February. Then I need to just, check out what other bands I included but didn't make it to the list back in January. Barsha Sket's self-titled album obviously should be on this list. It is a January release, but I got it late, so I couldn't make it to the January list. But that ex-New Zealand, currently Scottish band, is something you should be paying attention to. Also, French band Gorgon with their Veil of Darkness. I never got a review copy, except I just got the digital copy. I must say, I was positively surprised. Gorgon never hit me that hard previously, but that is an album I would definitely tell you to check out. So those bands kind of were missed already in January. So there's plenty of good stuff. And I can already say that even though it's hardly April, there are plenty of good albums already out in the first days of April, like basically the first 12 days or so. So I could say this is a very interesting year for metal music, especially the extreme kind. Be it death metal, black metal, thrash metal, or any kind of hybrid, we have an interesting year ahead of us and already great amount of nice albums. So more reviews coming your way, and stay tuned for more information. Should you have any questions, comments, opinions, whatever, put them on the box below and I'll get back to you. Rauta signing off.